Fatima is the head of developer relations, startup, and VC for Africa at NVIDIA. She's driving momentum with external African developer communities and equipping them with the tools and knowledge needed to create innovative AI solutions.
NVIDIA, a global technology leader headquartered in San Francisco and ranked among the top 10 biggest companies in the world, is leading the AI revolution with its groundbreaking work in AI and GPU that powers everything from ChatGPT to African innovation.
Before NVIDIA, Fatima managed a global accelerator program where she worked closely with dozens of high growth startups, helping them scale their operations through partnership across several African markets. Her experience and expertise has led her to speak on several platforms, including BBC Africa, Forbes, Copenhagen FinTech Week, where she shares her insights on startup, venture capitals, and developer relations.
Now, Fatima is the head of developer, startups, and VC ecosystem for Africa and Middle East. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Fatima as she comes on stage. With a round of applause, please. Welcome, Fatima. Thank you.
Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Super nice to be here. My name is Fatima. We'll just do some icebreakers while we wait for the slides to load. The first question that I have for the audience is, does anyone know the largest tech acquisition in Africa? If you know it, just feel free to raise your hand and just, shout out an answer. There's a gentleman at the back, yes. Sorry? InstaDeep, and that is absolutely correct. So I think there tends to be an understanding that when it comes to Africa, fintech is what's burgeoning, which is true. People tend to think of Flutterwave and Paystack, but actually the largest tech acquisition on the continent is InstaDeep. InstaDeep is an AI startup that was founded in 2016, based in Tunisia. And they were acquired earlier this year for $700 million. And they focus on AI, specifically around B2B solution. So I think what this shows is that, the AI boom that's happening is definitely not a hype and it's here to stay. They've been in the field for the past decade. But I think the slides are now up, so we'll just quickly go through it so that we can spend more time during questions. Next slide, please. Is there a clicker or? Yeah, so just next slide. Fantastic. We can skip through that. So I'll just quickly, ask the audience what they think when they think about NVIDIA, because that tends to be helpful to understand what to fill in and so forth. If anyone can, raise their hands and share what they think about when they think about NVIDIA, that would be great. And in the meantime, if the slides can be slowed down, that would be fantastic. I don't know if anyone from the team can help with that. But yeah, please go ahead. Gaming, fantastic. That's very true. Any other answers? Video editing, fantastic. Anyone else?
Only one person.
Graphics, great. Anyone else? AI chips, fantastic. So NVIDIA was born in 1993, and it was known as a gaming company. So it created a graphics card called GPUs, which stands for General Processing Units. And then in 2012, a researcher realized that you can use the same graphic cards to do parallel processing. And then from there, the NVIDIA AI chips were kind of thrusted into the mainstream. Most recently, when ChatGPT, was born, a lot of people understood NVIDIA for their actual chips. Today, NVIDIA is the 7th largest company in the world. It became a $1 trillion company just a few months ago, mainly due to the entire generative AI boom. 84% of AI infrastructure is built on NVIDIA. So whether it's TikTok, whether it's Netflix, Amazon, Uber algorithms, NVIDIA tends to build it. And more than that, we do full stack. So we do everything from chips to software, and then also to frameworks, and most importantly, solution development kits. And essentially, what that does is it allowed developers to have frameworks so that building AI becomes less intimidating and less daunting. So think of Wix, but for AI, or Pixel back in the day, which was like a social media platform, but for AI, essentially. So yeah, if we can have the next slide, that would be fantastic. Awesome. So as I was mentioning earlier, these are some of NVIDIA's AI customers. We work with every single Fortune 500 in the world, whether it's in fintech, whether it's in automotive industry, energy, social media, and you name it. We power the likes of AWS, Microsoft, and Oracle when it comes to access to cloud computing. When it comes to ChatGPT, more specifically, if you lift the hood, they have over tens of thousands of NVIDIA chips to run the fantastic work that they do. Next slide, please. So yeah, every single business needs artificial intelligence. There's so many ways that you can use it, right? You could use it when it comes to customer service, analytics, finance, radiology, and so forth. And more specifically in the African context, we have a lot of mobile agents on the ground. And just imagine how much more efficient they can be if they utilize artificial intelligence. And I think most of us use AI every single day without realizing it. Next slide, please. Awesome. So when it comes to Africa, people don't tend to think that there's a lot going on, but there actually is, right? So just a few months ago, there's a conference called Indaba, and they gather over 800 experts from 32 countries once a year across the continent. This year it was in Ghana, the year before that it was in Tunisia, and the editions before were in Kenya and South Africa. So hopefully they'll come to Nigeria one day. There are over 2,400 AI organizations on the continent. Most of them tend to sit in the northern part of Africa, so your Tunisias, your Algerias, your Morocco, and a lot of them also sit in the southern part. However, there is a war, and Nigeria isn't doing too well, right? So the Jollof war is one thing, but when it comes to the AI war, right now what we're actually seeing is Ghana is leading. Ghana is leading. Tunisia, a country with a population of 5 million people, is leading. And, we don't understand why that is. And I'm actually here in my personal capacity, right? Like, it was super important for me to come today and, engage with the builders and try to understand, because Nigeria has a population of 200 million. You can't talk about Africa and not talk about Nigeria, right? So we're super excited to see what people are building and just encourage people to go into the field of AI. There tends to be a misconception that you need to have a degree in AI or a PhD or a master's degree. I have an economics degree. I barely know how to code in Python, right? But we have solution development kits, and that essentially allows you to do the frameworks. So yeah, I definitely want to encourage people, to go into the field. Yes, it takes time. Yes, you need to be more patient, but the outcome is definitely worth it. And most of our AI developers that we work with in the ecosystem are self-taught. Next slide, please. So now I'll talk a little bit more about our Inception program. So our Inception program is essentially an ecosystem. It's not an accelerator. It's not an incubator. It's essentially just an ecosystem where we work with different startups across different scales. So we worked with the likes of OpenAI. We worked with the likes of InstaDeep. And we also work with developers who have like 2 developers and work in a garage as well. And what we do is we support them in building. That's what we're strong at. And we support them specifically technically. Once we've supported them technically and they have a working application into the field, we can then go to market with them. And going to market looks like helping them get access to venture capital, helping them get access to media, and so forth. But the first thing and most important thing is, what are you building, how are you building it, and why are you building it? So if you could go to the next slide, that would be fantastic. So yeah, as I mentioned, these figures need some updating because today we have over 15,000. The startups in our ecosystem have raised close to $1 trillion now, and we have over 100 countries. In Africa, we have about 19 countries represented, like mainly. Yeah, and then these are some of the key startups from the African ecosystem. And some of the use cases that we see typically come from healthcare, they come from agri-tech, and they also come from fintech. So InstaDeep is up there. You have M Farmer from Ghana. You have Africa Health Holding Ghana, Pharmaline Ghana, Aerobotics South Africa, Proteina Egypt, Veron South Africa, and Casper Profit South Africa. There's not one Nigerian startup on that slide. And by the time I'm here this time next year, I want that to change because, again, the numbers don't make sense. This is the largest population. Whenever you're in Nigeria, everyone always talks about the energy, the hustle, the gra, but we're not seeing it on our screen. So help me help you, you know? Awesome. So, yeah. Actually, we do have some good news. There is a Nigerian on the screen. So the first two guys are Ghanaians, but the other guy is Nigerian. His name is Toby. I don't know if anyone have heard of him. Toby was born and raised in Nigeria, and he was a doctor. He left for the US, and then he went to work with AWS. And while working at AWS, he was a research scientist, and he recently started his own startup around health tech. And what he does is he does automatic speech recognition, but for African accents, specifically in Nigeria first. So accents for Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, and so forth. So yeah, give it up for Toby. Fantastic, fantastic guy. Hopefully this time next year we can get him here. We also have Tekabal, right? Tekabal has, written about the work that NVIDIA has done a few times and also spotlighted Toby specifically. And in the photo at the bottom, we have Toby at our headquarters. And you can see here again the work that Toby has done and then also the work of our fellow Ghanaians. But like I said, Ghana 1, Nigeria 0. But let's change that next year. So yeah, next slide, please. Next slide. Awesome. This is the most important slide. So what this slide essentially means is it's our app catalog. And what our app catalog essentially is, when we have startups that have gone through building, they've gone through validation of their ideas, and their ideas are being used, we then upload it to this portal. When you go to this portal, you'll see everything from OpenAI to Netflix to a regular startup from Estonia. So it gives you access and visibility from analysts, from investors, and it's a great go-to marketing opportunity. Can we go to the next slide, please? Awesome. So these are a few of our VCs, and these are our first VCs. We now have 6 VCs on the continent, but these are our first 2 ones that we started with. As I mentioned, after we help you technically, we then help you go to market. This year, we've been able to help startups raise more than $19 million. In Kenya, we helped one raise 10.4. In Nigeria, undisclosed amount. The deal is about to be closed. In Ghana as well, the deal is underway. But essentially, what we are trying to do is we're trying to create generative AI, LLMs, and just general use AI use cases from the continent, just to show that there's more to the place than fintech. Because whenever you talk about Africa, it's always fintech, and that's fantastic and everything. We want to showcase that there is a diverse talent field, and there's also diverse applications coming from the continent. And you can't do that without money. Let's be serious. Next slide, please. So yeah, one of our key success stories is InstaDeep. They've been part of our ecosystem since 2016. When they started their organization, they literally had $4,000. Come 2019, they raised $1 million. They spent about $200,000 with NVIDIA. And then a few years later, they raised to 43. And then earlier this year, they were acquired by a German company for 700 million. They have an office in London, San Francisco, Germany, and they have one in Tunisia, and they're opening up an office in Rwanda. They should be opening up an office in Nigeria, hopefully, right? But again, data is important, right? I mean, the title of this entire event is data, but when it comes to Nigeria, stakeholders aren't able to capture data. We're not able to understand how many AI developers are there or how many people are just interested in AI, right? So you don't necessarily need to go right away into it, but at least if interest is being shown and captured, that's great. And I think that's why events like this are fantastic, because I think the team here has done a really, really great job at showcasing what's possible. So the next slide, please. Intron Health, again, another successful story. So 2 weeks ago, I was in New York at the General Assembly, and the guy that we had next to us was Toby, showcasing the work that he was doing in front of dignitaries, in front of VCs, and so forth. So I guess in this case, it's Nigeria 1 and Ghana 0. Next slide, please. Bright Skies, another fantastic solution. They are from Egypt, and again, when they started self-taught, dispelling the myth that you need a master's to start. Can we go into another slide, please? And then we have Proteina. They're doing drug discovery, which is super cool. So what they tend to do is they create almost like Lego blocks that scientists can use to prototype what medicine would look like before medicine is being used. And I think what's super interesting with AI is you don't necessarily need to serve an African market only. So you start with Africa in mind, but you're able to expand globally. Most of these solutions are focused on international markets, which allows them to capture fields that startups in this ecosystem don't tend to also think about. Can we have the next slide, please? And then we have a South Africa initiative called Aerobotics, and they focus on farming. 70% of the arable land in the world comes from Africa. So we see a lot of use cases in farming as well. Next slide, please. So yeah, in summary, if you are a startup and you do want to join the ecosystem, definitely join it. And some of our do's and don'ts is we expect people to be proactive. We expect people to take the time and engage with the experience. And we expect people to build before wanting to go to market. And building is steep, I'll be honest with you. It can take anywhere from 6 months to 18 months. But once that is out of the way, then we definitely go into markets with our partners. And then can we have the next slide? This is just some of the work that we've done over the years on the continent, across Ghana, Nigeria, Egypt, Tunisia, and so forth. And my name is Fatima Tambajang, so feel free to find me on Twitter and just, at me. Always happy to share resources and have conversations. And then can we go to the next slide? Next slide, please. I'll leave this up here just for a minute. If you are interested in learning more about the program, feel free to scan the QR code and it will take you straight to information regarding it. If we don't have time, I'll share it with the team so they can also disseminate it via their communication channels. And then can we go to the next slide? Awesome. So we have a present for Data Fest Nigeria. So on behalf of Gift, who's been a fantastic ally in the ecosystem, I'm mainly here today because of him and the team. They've done fantastic online. We wanted to share some codes regarding our Deep Learning Institute. So our Deep Learning Institute is essentially a virtual ecosystem and a virtual platform that's used by developers worldwide. We have over 3 million developers on this ecosystem, from guys that are sitting at JP Morgan to guys that are sitting at InstaDeep and so forth. Typically, these courses cost anywhere from $90 to $500, and today they're 0.00. From today going on to the next 2 weeks, mainly due to our engagement with Data Fest Nigeria. So what I'll do is I'll just let the QR code up there, and then I'll let Gift come up, and then also just share some of his insights as he's also been in the field of our work.
Hi everyone. So I heard it's not working, right? Yeah, so we'll be sending this if we have a Discord channel. So if you are interested, please. We'll share the Discord channel, probably on maybe LinkedIn, and we'll figure out that. Please, I want you to scan the QR code if you are in the data science, machine learning, deep learning space. Yeah, so I want you to scan the QR code, please. Yeah, please, thank you.
Awesome. And the QR code is great, right? It helps us also capture data, understand what's happening in Nigeria, understand what are the interests of developers here so that we can fine tune our model of engagements and so forth. No pun intended. So I want to wrap up quickly so that we can spend as much time on Q&As and getting into what is rhetoric and what is reality when it comes to AI. So if you have a question, feel free to, shoot your hands up. And it would be great if anyone could maybe share a mic with those asking questions so that it can be more audible. So yeah, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for your time. And once again, thank you to the organizing team and all the volunteers who've, done such a fantastic job at putting everything together. So yeah, over to the audience. Sorry? No worries, that's fine.
But thank you so much.
No worries. We don't have time for questions today, but like I said, feel free to share them on the Discord cord, and I'm sure the team will get them back to me. So yeah, thank you as well to the
Thank you
host.
so much. Plaque for you. Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you. Yeah.